Thanks, Tom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're all very welcome. I want to thank you all very much for the opportunity to address the National Construction Summit at the RDS here today. And thanks to Colin and all his team for organising this event. I think the second one, and certainly a very, very important area. I've addressed some of Colin's conferences over the years on different topics, but this certainly is the number one priority for us as a government at the moment, is the whole housing agenda and the construction agenda. And for us, it's housing. So I'm going to mainly speak to you today about the housing, our plans for housing and our action plan for housing, and to get across the importance of working with all you guys in partnership and developing ideas and actions and step-by-step processes that we can work on together over the months and certainly over the years ahead, but certainly in the next early months as well. I'm here to ask you to get involved in the design and the delivery of the action plan for housing, which is our plan to create a more sustainable housing market. We know over the last couple of years all the conversations around construction and housing, what can we do to fast track it or to implement it. In our view, we know there's been a lot of changes, a lot of plans. You guys are ready for action. There's money out there, but we need to make it up. We need to pull it all together and to make it happen and to make it deliver and bring housing supply up to the pace it needs to be at. The residential sector has been very slow to recover, and there's a very significant pent-up demand, a demand that we have to meet, and we'll only meet if all of us put our brains together on this as well. This is contributing to a very high increase in rents and putting people at risk of homelessness, but it's also having an effect on our economy and affecting companies' ability to grow and expand. And in my previous role working to the Department of Enterprise, I've engaged with a lot of companies who are here today, who are developing new products and new ideas, have major growth plans, but you want to attract people in, to be able to work in your companies, they want to be able to live in our cities, live in our urban centres, live close by, and housing is a key part of that, and a key part of your offering as employers of your package as well. So we have to address this, and we have to fix this as well. The annual requirement for homes is about 25,000 per year. And we're way off that at the moment. We're only at about 12,500 produced homes last year. Starts was a little bit less than that, and over half of them were one-off sites spread around the country as well. So we're way behind what we need. And the major demand at the moment is in our cities, mainly in Dublin and Cork and Limerick, but specifically Dublin is where the major area is. And Tom certainly can address this later on because he's probably talking about it on a daily basis at this stage. So we have to focus our minds on that as well. The fear is that without intervention and without change, and if we don't change the way we're doing our business, it's not going to get any better, it's going to stay the same. And that's not acceptable. And as a government, and as Minister Simon Coveney, and myself, Minister Damien English, working with him in the Department of Housing and Planning, our aim is to address this, to tackle this, and to really change it dramatically in the months ahead. Yet, when we talk about the lack of housing and that there's only 12,000 built last year, at this moment in time, there's 27,000 planning permissions lying idle in this county alone, in Dublin, in this city. So it's not a shortage of land. There's enough land zoned to build 88,000 houses here in County Dublin as well. Throughout the country, there's enough land zoned to build 400,000 housing units. So we have what we need there. We have the main ingredient, which is the land. So now we have to make sure we bring all the other actions together to make it possible to develop that land and to roll it out as well. About half of the sites that have been granted permission in this county are ready. They don't need infrastructure. They can start. And there are, I know, about 4,000 houses in production at the moment in the private sector, but that needs to ramp up very, very quickly to 20,000 and probably even as far as 30,000 for a couple of years, but to get to a sustainable level of a minimum of 25,000 units per year for the years thereafter. And that's what we have to do in working together as well. So clearly the potential exists to dramatically increase housing output in and around Dublin with the right interventions around planning, infrastructure and the financials to make things happen. We need to get these sites moving. We need the houses, we need the apartments. Peoples and families need homes, and the growing economy, as I mentioned earlier, needs a functioning housing market to enable it to grow. There's a role for everyone in this room and at this exhibition today to get things moving, along with the government, with various departments, with NAMA, with local authorities, developers, landowners, bankers and investors. All of us have a role to play in this, and all of us have to focus our minds on this as well. The bottom line is we need to increase the supply of housing. Private houses for sale, private houses for rent, social housing, student accommodation, affordable rental accommodation, and better still, we need to develop sites that can give us a mix of all of this and a combination of all of that as well. And there are ideal sites throughout this city and throughout our country for all this to happen together as well, but that's our role to make it there. So a lot has been done already to make housing projects more viable and to boost supply. We've had changes to the Part 8 system, to the Part 5 system. We've had changes to the planning system, the Part 8. We've had development contribution levies changes. We've had the rebate scheme. We've had the vacant site levy will roll out in a couple of years' time. That's to try to stimulate demand and get sites moving. We've new rental measures. The apartment guidelines were changed. I know not everybody is happy with that. We'll discuss that today as well. But there have been changes made, but still have not been enough. They have not had the impact we'd hoped they'd have as the previous government. So we need to do more. We need to focus our minds and bring in more changes, and more disruptive changes, more efforts to try and really stimulate this demand as well. So in response to this ongoing supply problems, we've decided to develop an action plan for housing. And it's well on the way in the last couple of weeks and will be produced in July. The government aims through this action plan for housing to achieve a dramatic change in circumstances around the housing system as quickly as we possibly can. So to make that work, we want to hear from all you guys, all you stakeholders. You all have a role in developing that action plan. We will take on board all practical ideas that will work, ideas that will help represent the best value for taxpayers' money and help us develop affordable homes and homes at a fast pace as well. I know that many of you, certainly the front row here, have been into our Oireachtas Committee on Homelessness and Housing over the last couple of weeks, have presented your ideas, but we want to hear from the rest of you as well. We've another 3 or 4 weeks before this plan is fully put together, and even after that then we can add to it as well. But we want to hear your thoughts, because we know, and I certainly know from being involved in the Jobs Action Plan, that without your involvement this won't work. Without having you guys involved in deciding the actions and then implementing the actions, we'll not make progress in this area as well. I mentioned the action plan for housing, or for jobs, and that's an important part because we're using the same process with the housing plan for houses. The action plan for jobs was started back in 2012, but most of you might remember we had an unemployment crisis. It was at 15%, heading for 20%. We set up an action plan for jobs process that we said would deliver 100,000 jobs. Most people laughed. Most people said it wasn't possible. I'll admit I was nervous myself. I was working with Richard Rutan in the department at the time, and I was a bit nervous too if the target could be achieved. But it was achieved, and we smashed that target. We created over 135,000 new private sector jobs. You guys created them. Government just helped along the way and facilitated. But that was through an action plan for jobs that involved over 3 or 4 years the completion of 1,000 actions, some small actions, some large, some disruptive, but all of them came from stakeholders like yourselves in the jobs community, and we worked on them together and made them happen. So a similar process now is going to be used in housing. And I have no doubt that if we follow that same logic, that step-by-step process, action by action, ticking the box, putting someone's name beside it, no matter what department it is, be it Department of Housing and Planning, if it's Department of Jobs, if it's in education, if it's a skills matter, if it's new apprenticeships, the construction sector, CIF, all different stakeholders, everyone puts their name beside an action and has to follow through and has to implement that. That's the only way we're going to tackle this crisis and this emergency of housing, and again, build a sustainable housing sector in the years ahead as well. So I've no doubt that in partnership, working together, we can make this happen as well. I suppose, the whole aim of this is that as a department then that we want to be able to work with you and to hear from you on that. So I'm willing to meet with you as a junior minister in that area. And Simon Covey as my senior minister is available to meet as well, our department officials. We're there to take your suggestions, to hear them in. You can also email them in to the housing market policy at environ.ie. So it's the housing market policy at environ.ie. But please don't tell me in 6 months' time you had an idea and didn't want to share it. We want to hear it. We want to implement it. We've asked all the local authorities, we've asked all the higher education players, all the stakeholders of government and semi-state bodies to give us their ideas, their actions, to flag the barriers to us, let us know what's blocking the system, what's in the way, and we're getting very familiar with what they are, and we're going to try and change them. But we have to hear about them, and we will address them. And I can assure you of that. We will prioritise the key areas, but yes, they'll all be addressed over the next 6, 12, 18 months. And hopefully, if we do this right, we won't have a crisis in 18 months. We'll have a sustainable housing market that we're all part of as well. Just to touch on some of the issues that we are looking at in the action plan. And again, we're open to all ideas. Some of these have come through the committee already. Some of these have been in there. And we're looking firstly at an infrastructure fund aimed at opening up residential development sites, particularly at affordable levels, and that was announced yesterday. That's a 200 million rolling fund that will be used to develop simple infrastructure like a bridge or road into a site. And I've seen the survey of the sites around this city. Sites have been left idle for the last 3 or 4 years for the want of a bridge that might cost 8 million, or a simple road that might cost 5 million. I know I'm saying figures of 5 million, 8 million, but they're small amounts in the grand scheme of things. So now we want to make that happen. And that's what that infrastructure fund was announced yesterday as a major part of our action plan. And we can increase that fund in partnership with ourselves to develop and open up these sites as well. Now the key part there though is that we picked the right sites. There's no point in government using taxpayers' money to put a bridge or road into a site and then the owner sits back and doesn't develop it. So it'll be done hand in hand, parallel development to make sure we get houses back off that site as well and at an affordable price. That'll also help bring the cost down of the house to the end, to the purchaser at the end as well. We're also looking at examining ways to boost the supply of student housing. Most of you might know there's an unmet demand of about 25,000 students living in Dublin. We're going to try to find ways to develop on campus, student accommodation on campus, to take them out of the private residential market to free up housing accommodation as well. So again, there's opportunities there for many private people to get involved with our education players to develop these on-campus student accommodation. They can be developed much quicker, much more cost effective. Students haven't got the same demands as we might all have as family ownership, so there's an opportunity there to develop housing at a quicker pace there as well. But again, it needs involvement, it needs your money, it needs your ideas, your partnership to make that happen too as well. We're also looking at the whole area of developing new plan and deliver new housing for our elderly and people who want to live longer, because at the moment about 3% of the Irish population are aged over 80, but by 2060 that figure will have more than trebled, and a lot of us guys will be in that position as well. So we want to really step up here with our supply and our offering to that sector of the community of new type of housing as well, to maybe again free up the larger houses that they might need for other families as well. We're developing a new list of actions to help keep people in their homes as well. There'll be a new mortgage aid and advice service, because we also know that we're going to stop the crisis of homelessness. We have to stop people leaving their homes, be it for too high rents or for whatever other reasons that they can't afford the mortgage. So there's a new range of initiatives coming out there as well. In July you'll hear announcements around the money available for the rent supplement as well. The HAP scheme, where the local authority work with providers to purchase houses and buy houses again, that'll be rolled out at a faster pace too, to increase that as well. Some of the speakers here today will talk about the amount of empty houses in the country. We know from the census, 2011 census, there's over 230,000 vacant empty houses. Now we greatly expect that will be well reduced, probably down to about 100,000. And we know some of them are holiday homes, some of them are second homes for long people, but quite a lot of them are potentially available and to be used. And if we're going to deal with an emergency, while we're trying to increase supply of houses, we also have to make sure existing houses and existing spaces are put to good use. So we're looking at new measures to make that happen as well, and provide new finance to work with that. Also new finance to work with the urban regeneration. Again, some of these schemes were flagged by yourselves at committees. If we expand our range of offers and initiatives around the whole urban regeneration, which is my Pacific area as well, that we can bring available accommodation and buildings that have been lying idle for years on our high streets, bring them back into use for housing and other uses as well, but mainly for housing. So we will target increased supports at that to make it happen too as well. We're looking at the VAT rates and other tax incentives to try and stimulate supply here as well. The Part A process, which delivers social housing. Most of you guys have been involved in that process, either with local authorities or through joint ventures, will understand that Part A system has not worked in the past. It's been too slow. If it takes 3 or 4 years to bring a housing project to the start, it's too slow, guys. We can't work with that. So we're going to change that system. There have been some changes made to it. We're going to change it again as well. We're looking at fast-track planning for private sites as well, for yourselves as well, to try to speed that up, make it happen. And again, it's a case of having to. And it might be a case of bringing in these changes for a period of 2 or 3 years, just to stimulate demand and then ease it back to the current system as well, or current reform system as well. But we have to look at these new radical changes to make it happen as well. We're also looking at setting up project delivery teams, which most of you guys are very familiar with when it comes to your own private businesses, but they haven't been there through our Department of Housing or through our local authorities. And again, we recognise that if we're going to push these sites and get our sites up and running a lot quicker, we have to have specific project delivery teams which can make it happen. Again, that'll be an engagement with yourselves as well, and in partnership with yourselves as well. So we have to try to drive all these new initiatives and new ideas as well. There's many other areas there we can target, and some of them will reflect your own feedback too. But it's about, we will look at any idea we have to look at to make things happen quicker, to get houses built, to get people into homes. Even I hear stories this morning of homes that are ready since last August and are still lying idle. That's not good enough, folks. We have to, and I accept a lot of those changes are on our side of it, through our various departments or our various agencies. We will fix that. But we'll also need you to respond to that as well, and to work with us as we bring these changes through as well. So I'm just touching on some of the changes there that I looked at, but hopefully we'll see a lot more actions coming through with that as well. There'll also be a lot of new schemes to try to have a more off-balance sheet investment of housing. Again, to work with you as partnership with your finance, with state finance, to make houses off-balance sheet. We're looking at new affordable rental schemes. The credit unions have been on quite a lot with a large pot of money they want to invest in housing. We'll make that happen too as well. And also then there's a programme for government commits to rolling out the 3.8 billion fund for social housing, to roll that out a lot quicker. And again, you guys are involved in a lot of that because over 3/4 of those houses are to come from the private sector. So we need you upping the pace and delivering the houses as well and bringing them on steam as well. A couple of other things as well. The whole area of finance. We're going to deal with the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund, have put in place a 500 million fund there. Some of you have been involved in that. They've been involved in the supply of 800 homes over the last year in Dublin. They want to get involved in more sites. They're dealing with Activate Capital. We're dealing with the other company as well, which is the Arlstone Capital as well, to deliver residential units and to make money available to you. We hear quite clearly from all those involved in construction that the cost of money is too high to make it work for you. We're analysing the overall cost of building a house, what we can do with that, and the different parts where the state can intervene to make it easier. So we recognise that the cost of finance is a major part of that. And we also recognise that the new regulations and all the changes there, which do deliver a better quality home and a new home, that they have added cost to you providing a home. We recognise that. And we're not getting the word out there that the people now are buying a much higher quality home than they would have bought 10 or 15 years ago. In most cases, if it's done right, but we have to get the recognition for that for you guys as well, and to make sure it happens. And that's also that's part of our job too. But also to recognise the builders that are registered on the Construction Industry Registration Limited that have got involved in that and are prepared to put their name to that top quality. So we need to encourage that as well. But to recognise those increased costs and to work with you where we can to reduce that. It goes back to the infrastructure area on as well. So we are committed to examining all aspects of the viability equation as well and the input costs to try to bring that cost down. So just to be clear, increasing supply is a major priority for us as a government. But we will not renege on quality either, and the standard of new supply is just as important to me because a lot of the new regulations will fall to my watch as well. So I want to continually work with you on that and hear feedback on that. And I know that will be addressed in today's conference today. I won't be able to stay for all the speeches, but I'll certainly get the feedback as well. Finally, in addition, we're also going to be revitalising cities, towns, villages and communities, and it's a key objective of mine and my Pacific area as well. So there'll be a lot of housing actions in this space we're developing to complement and to broaden the programmes and projects to make it viable, to turn those units back into use as well. Just to conclude, the housing situation in many ways is as a result of the positive growth in our economy. The crucial thing now, though, is to use the action plan for housing to build on this base so that we can continue to grow the sector to sustainable levels and to deal with an emergency situation that we have in front of us as well. Given the gravity of the situation, we are thinking radically and are prepared to do whatever it takes to make this work, whatever it takes. So please, any idea, no matter how madcap you think it is, please let us know, let us have it, and we'll try to implement it as well. Once the action plan of housing is put in place, it'll be very important that the construction sector, all you guys as stakeholders, will respond to that and will play your part. And we will seek assurances that if we deliver, that you guys deliver as well. And that's what it's all about here. We work in this partnership as well. So I have no doubt that the construction sector has a vital role to play in the recovery of our economy. I see great potential for the sector to rebuild to a sustainable level. We're going to hear a lot of speeches today of other areas of investment separate to housing. We have a 42 billion capital infrastructure spend over the next 3 or 4 years as well. You guys are part of that. You guys are needing that money as well to develop, but that's a key part to keeping the country moving and future-proofing our economy for years ahead as well. So in relation to housing, the action plan for housing can be and will be the catalyst for change in this sector. So I look forward to hearing from your views on solving the housing crisis and putting in place a sector on a sustainable footing. In the past, we've seen the construction sector making up about 27, 28% of the GNP. Far too high at that time. Now it's far too low at 6 or 7%. We have to get it back to a steady 14, 15, 16% and keep it there. And that's what we want to be part of. Address the current emergency crisis, call it what you like, for the next year and a half, but then sustainable footing from thereafter. And so all of you have guaranteed income, guaranteed jobs, can take on new ideas, can open up sites and have confidence to expand your companies and grow and develop your new products and new services, serving this whole construction sector as well. So again, guys, enjoy today. Simon Coveney hoped to be here, Tom, as you know, and Colin was hoping to get him. Simon's a big wedding today, not his own, he's the best man. But he again, his door and my door are open, and our department are open to work with you on this as well and to develop new ideas as well. So looking forward to working with you in the sector over the years ahead, and enjoy today's conference. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.